a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Millennium Stadium. The Millennium Stadium, since 2016 named for sponsorship purposes as the Principality Stadium, is the national stadium of Wales, located in Cardiff. It is the home of the Wales national rugby union team and has also staged games of the Wales national football team. Initially built to host the 1999 Rugby World Cup, it has gone on to host many other large-scale events, such as the Tsunami Relief Concert, the Super Special Stage of Wales Rally Great Britain, the Speedway Grand Prix of Great Britain and various music concerts. It also hosted 6 FA Cup finals and several other high-profile football fixtures while Wembley Stadium was being redeveloped. The stadium is owned by Millennium Stadium plc, a subsidiary company of the Welsh Rugby Union. The stadium was designed by a team led by architects Blylob Sports Architecture. W.S. Atkins were the structural engineers, and the building contractor was Lang. The total construction cost of the stadium was £121 million, of which the Millennium Commission funded £46 million. The Millennium Stadium opened in June 1999 and its first major event was an international rugby union match on the 26th of June 1999, when Wales beat South Africa in a test match by 29-19 before a crowd of 29,000. With a total seating capacity of 74,500. It is the third largest stadium in the Six Nations Championship behind the Stade de France and Twickenham. It is also the second largest stadium in the world with a fully retractable roof and was the second stadium in Europe to have this feature. Listed as a Category 4 stadium by UEFA, the stadium was chosen as the venue for the 2017 UEFA Champions League final, which took place on 3 June 2017. In 2015, the Welsh Rugby Union announced a 10-year sponsorship deal with the Principality Building Society that saw the stadium renamed as the Principality Stadium from early 2016. Background. Until 1969, Cardiff RFC and Wales both played their home matches on the same pitch at Cardiff Arms Park, but all this changed in the 1969-70 season. As a result of an agreement between Cardiff Athletic Club and the WRU, the National Stadium project established that a new stadium for international matches and events was required, with Cardiff RFC moving to a new purpose-built stadium on the original cricket ground at the site of the former Cardiff Arms Park Stadium. By the 7th of April 1984 the National Stadium was officially opened. However, in 1994, a redevelopment committee was set up to consider redeveloping the National Stadium, and by 1995 the WRU had been chosen to host the 1999 Rugby World Cup. In 1995, the National Stadium, which was designed in 1962, only had a capacity of 53,000. Other nations' stadia, such as Twickenham with a capacity of 75,000, and Murrayfield Stadium with a capacity of 67,000, had overtaken it. France was also about to build the Stade de France, which would have a capacity of more than 80,000 for the 1998 FIFA World Cup. The original capacity of the National Stadium was 65,000, but this had been reduced to 53,000 due to the Taylor Report. 11,000 of 53,000 capacity was on the East Terrace, and the conversion to an all-seater stadium would have reduced the stadium capacity still further to just 47,500. In addition to the problems of capacity, the National Stadium was also very well hidden by the neighbouring buildings to the south in Park Street, Wood Street and, to the east in Westgate Street, and also by Cardiff Rugby Ground in the north. It was only fully visible from across the River Taff in the west. Access to the ground was also very restricted, with the main entrance being a narrow opening in Westgate Street to the east which was shared by both vehicles and spectators alike. The options for the new stadium included adding a third tier to the existing National Stadium, or moving to a new site. This last option was discounted, because it would have required a vast car parking facility, and that would have put severe short-term pressures on the local transport infrastructure, creating traffic jams and pollution. The committee eventually chose a new stadium on the same site, but with considerable increase in its capacity. It would also involve moving the alignment of the stadium from west-east to north-south. This was the option supported by the Millennium Commission. It would become the fourth redevelopment of the Cardiff Arms Park site. It was also decided that the new stadium should have a sliding roof to accommodate a multi-use venue, with a grass pitch for rugby and football. The only other sliding roofs in Europe at the time were, at two Dutch stadia, the Amsterdam Arena, completed in 1996 with a capacity of 50,000, and Helredome in Arnhem, a 30,000 capacity ground built from 1996 to 1998. To remain on the Arms Park site, additional space had to be found to allow safe access and to provide room for the increased capacity and improved facilities. This was achieved by the purchase of adjacent buildings to the south and east and by the construction of a new £6 million river walk by the River Taff on the western side of the stadium. By 1999, the Millennium Stadium had replaced the National Stadium, Cardiff Arms Park, as the National Stadium of Wales for rugby union and association football international matches. Cardiff RFC continued as before to play at Cardiff Arms Park Rugby Ground, which had replaced the cricket ground in 1969. Construction. The stadium was designed by a team led by Bob Sheard at Lobsport Architecture, who later merged with Hoxsport to become Populous. The building contractor was Lang and the structural engineers were W.S. Atkins. Mike Otlet of W.S. Atkins designed the stadium's retractable roof. Simili SPA from Italy fabricated and erected the 72 steel plane frames for the stands and all the 4,500 components of the roof. Construction involved the demolition of a number of buildings, primarily the existing National Stadium, Wales Empire Pool in Wood Street, Cardiff Empire Telephone Exchange Building in Park Street, the newly built Territorial Auxiliary and Volunteer Reserve Building in Park Street, and the Social Security offices in Westgate Street. The stadium was built by Lang in 1999 on the site of the National Stadium, with the head of construction being Steve Agger. It was built for the 1999 Rugby World Cup, for which Wales was the main host. With 7 of the 41 matches, including the final, being played at the stadium. The total construction cost of the stadium was £121 million, which was funded by private investment and £46 million of public funds from the Millennium Commission, the sale of debentures to supporters, and loans. The development left the WRU heavily in debt. The Millennium Stadium was named as such in recognition of the Millennium Commission's contribution to the building. The stadium was first used for a major event on the 26th of June 1999, when Wales played South Africa in a rugby union test match before a crowd of 29,000. Wales won 29-19, the first time they had ever beaten the Springboks. 2016 renaming. On the 8th of September 2015 it was announced that the Millennium Stadium would be renamed Principality Stadium as the result of a 10-year naming rights deal with the Principality Building Society. Some fans expressed opposition on social media. On the 22nd of January 2016, the Millennium Stadium was officially renamed as the Principality Stadium. The new name, written bilingually and covering 114 square meters of the upper stadium, was lit up at a special evening ceremony, to be followed by a festival to encourage grassroots rugby. The change of name also meant a change of logo for the Millennium Stadium. There were 3 designs shortlisted, and a panel, which included the former Wales international captain Ryan Jones and staff and members of the WRU and Principality Building Society, chose the final design. A spokesperson for the WRU said, "The new stadium logo takes its inspiration from the venue's iconic architecture, 4 spires, curved frontage and fully retractable roof." Features. The all-seater stadium has the capacity for 74,500 supporters and features a retractable roof, only the second stadium of its type in Europe, and the largest football stadium in the world with this feature, by capacity. Additional seating is sometimes added for special events such as a rugby test against the New Zealand All Blacks, or for the FA Cup final. The current record attendance is set at just over 78,000, recorded at the Anthony Joshua v Carlos Takam fight, on the 28th of October 2017, in which Joshua successfully retained his WBA, IBF, and EBO titles. The natural grass turf was made up of a modular system installed by Greentech ITM. It features built-in irrigation and drainage. The pitch itself was laid on top of some 7,412 pallets that could be moved so the stadium could be used for concerts, exhibitions and other events. In May 2014, after much trouble with disease and stability, the surface was removed and replaced with a more resilient interwoven sand-based deso pitch. The four ends of the ground are called the North Stand, the West Stand, the South Stand, and the BT Stand. The South Stand was previously known as the Hyder Stand, until Hyder was sold. The stadium has 3 tiers of seating, with the exception of the North Stand, which has 2 tiers. The lower tier holds approximately 23,500 spectators, the middle tier holding 18,000, and the upper tier holding 33,000 spectators. The stadium was slightly restricted in size due to its proximity to Cardiff Rugby Club's home in the adjacent smaller stadium within Cardiff Arms Park. The WRU were unable to secure enough funding to include the North Stand in the new stadium, and the Millennium Commission would not allow any of its funds to be used in any way for the construction of a new stadium for Cardiff RFC. The WRU held talks with Cardiff RFC to see if it would be possible for the club to either move or secure funding from the Cardiff Arms Park to be redeveloped, but these were unsuccessful. The stadium thus had to be completed with a break in its bowl structure in the North Stand, known colloquially as the Cardiff Fault or Glanmore's Gap, after Glanmore Griffiths, then chairman of the WRU and now a former president. The superstructure of the stadium is based around 490.3 meters masts. The stadium was built from 56,000 tons of concrete and steel, and has 124 hospitality suites and 7 hospitality lounges, 22 bars, 7 restaurants, 17 first aid points, 12 escalators and 7 lifts. The stadium has 7 gates for access to the site. Gate 1 is from the Riverwalk via Castle Street, Gates 2 and 3 are via Westgate Street, Gate 4 is for security only also via Westgate Street, Gate 5 is via Park Street and Gates 6 and 7 are via the Millennium Plaza. Any future renovation to the stadium will involve replacing the old North Stand of the former National Stadium with a new one similar to the 3 existing stands of the new Millennium Stadium. This will make the stadium bowl-shaped and will increase its capacity to around 80,000. It will resolve the existing problems of deteriorating concrete quality on the old structure in the North Stand. In each of the stadium's bars, so-called joy machines can pour 12 pints in less than 20 seconds. During a Wales vs France match, 63,000 fans drank 77,184 pints of beer, almost double the 44,000 pints drunk by a similar number of fans at a game at Twickenham. The stadium has a resident hawk named Dad, who is employed to drive seagulls and pigeons out of the stadium. In 2005 the stadium installed an arena partition drape system, a 1,100 kilograms black curtain made up of 12 drapes measuring 9x to vary the audience from a capacity of over 73,000 down to between 12,000 and 46,000, depending on the 4 different positions that it can be hung. The curtains can be stored in the roof of the stadium when not in use. The £1 million cost of the curtain was funded by the stadium, the Millennium Commission, its caterers Lethaby and Christopher and by the then Wales Tourists Board. The curtain was supplied by Blackout. In May 2015 Gareth Davis, the chairman of the WRU, announced that the stadium would be fitted with new seats, replacing the original seats from 1999, at a cost of £4 million to £5 million, which would be completed by 2018. In addition, a new £3.1 million Deso hybrid pitch will be installed. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?